Welcome back to the weekly RFOX AMA with CEO and co-founder Benny Fairbank. I'm Lenny Clifford. Hope you're all doing great. How about you, Benny?
Yeah, very well as always, thank you. Keeping busy, which is good. Lots going on. You?
Good stuff. I'm doing really well, learning a lot, keeping busy. Let's get into it. What are the updates for this week?
I think this week still doing a lot of my transition into the Vault. We've started doing more regular calls and updates on the Vault's progress. So we do Discord calls 3 nights a week, which is a lot more visibility. We've started to let some more people into the Vault as well. We did a giveaway, I think about a week ago, where we did 3 headsets. So we're soon going to welcome those people in. And now we've started new competitions where other people can win Oculus headsets and start to come into the Vault. So I'm going to do a few guided tours, and we're about 6 weeks or so away from a major facelift as well, which will be fantastic because people will get closer to seeing what the overall world looks like and how it all comes together. So that's very, very exciting. We've got a ton of recruitment still going on internally in the Vault as well. So all things are starting to really heat up. And then we've obviously got the TV and media side really ramping up and hitting their straps as well now.
You mentioned the concept art. I've seen a little bit of that. It's looking amazing. Can you share a bit more of that with everyone?
Yeah, I think, like I said before, what we realised was that, we could have gone out with something previously and decided that we had to really raise the bar and had to sort of get to that level that that just has that amazing wow factor. And obviously the visuals and the aesthetics are something that complements the technology and the offerings, but ultimately it has to be look in a way that's very, very aesthetically pleasing, that is very engaging, that keeps people coming back again and again. So we're also working on some amazing models as well, in addition to the visuals, that would be good economic models for investors as well. So some exciting stuff coming.
Okay. And I want to ask you about some of the news that's been coming out recently. There's been a bit of mainstream news about the risks in the metaverse, like being bullied or harassed by avatars. And is this any different from existing platforms or social media, or do any special considerations need to take place when it comes to moderation?
It's an evolving landscape, and it's hard to say from a legal context because it'll change from month to month depending on what people come out with. I remember you couldn't serve a McDonald's hot coffee without someone getting sued for selling scalding hot coffees and stuff like that. That it'll progress hugely, and I think there's a lot of loopholes and there's a lot of laws and base sort of governance types of issues that are still being worked out. I think Facebook were mentioning that they'd have a 4 foot or 4, I think they use feet over there, don't they? 4 feet perimeter around each of the people in the metaverse space, so you can't actually get too close and too personal. So I see a lot of people are trialing different things to work out how to deal with this. But I think as far as the online landscape is concerned, like you said, there's a lot of harassment, bullying, and people hiding behind avatars and fake personalities. And I think that's inevitably going to be part of this. So it's a matter of how we work to sort of lock that down and deal with that. And honestly, that's an evolving landscape. It's very difficult to say at this stage.
Okay, so it sounds like there could be an automatic cancel feature. And I didn't know about the Facebook parameters. That's quite interesting. That sounds like it could get quite political. Now, could we get to the point where powerful and corrupt corporations and media use astroturfing techniques in virtual worlds, or they could use it for misinformation, or even like someone being an agent provocateur and they could pretend to be anti-government and anti-regime and harass people?
Invisible avatars walking up to people having conversations. I mean, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, when I hear things like this, one avatar touching another avatar or whatever, I think, why don't you just make it anti-collision and make it so that you just walk straight through them like they're ghosts? There's a billion different simple ways to deal with this type of stuff. But as far as collusion and all of that type of stuff, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a brand new landscape, and it's going to be interesting to see how different actors try and nefarious actors and people that are trying to profit or benefit will definitely try stuff on. So everybody in the space has to be on their toes, much as you do if you're running any social platform.
Okay, now a lot of people rushed in to purchase metaverse assets, and some sold a lot of their existing assets and they got wrecked as the market consolidated. Axi's a good example of that. What is RFOX doing when it comes to the fiduciary responsibilities over its community?
Yeah, so like I said, we've got a plan that we're developing now that would come out in the form of a white paper specifically for the Vault, and that will explain like a long-term sustainable economic model and system that also focuses heavily on rewards and giving back to users. But none of this short-term painted into a corner type structures or systems. It's much more of a sustainable long-term plan, which is extremely important if you're going to aim for the types of numbers that we're hoping to have through. So no, I understand everybody that buys at the top of any type of market is going to obviously feel the effects of consolidation and pullback. So our job is to basically provide an amazing product and service that people want to engage with and use, but more importantly want to return to using again and refer other people to using. So to do that, we have to balance the needs and the wants of the early investors versus all the different types of user bases that are coming in there. And I think we are very close to coming up with a model that will do that.
All right. And on privacy, Benny, Oculus cameras get to look into the user's homes and the person wearing the device. We know personal data is gathered and sold. What are some of the privacy concerns to be addressed by metaverse builders?
Yeah, well, we're talking with a number of hardware manufacturers now. So we're trying to work out how we can sort of control that journey the best we possibly can. Obviously, if you're using third-party tools and instruments, you're always subject to whatever their terms and conditions are. And I think anyone that's followed us for some period of time knows that we try and shy away from that as best we possibly can, but has to make commercial sense. If you go down the route of building something yourself from scratch, there has to be a return. Otherwise, there's no real added benefit or value to doing that. So we're in early conversations with a couple of companies that sort of are set up to rival Oculus, and you would literally be able to choose the content and the filters and what goes on, what's stored, what's kept. They're completely configurable. So the problem or the issue is at this particular point in time, if you're providing those hardware items yourself, they're always going to be a little bit more expensive than the Oculus headsets. So it's a matter of, do you price people out of the market, or do you offer an option that is a more premium level that doesn't have some of those issues attached to it? So that's something we're still working through.
Okay, sure. What about psychology and how we interact socially in the metaverse? What considerations are there for metaverse builders? How do you make it a positive interaction, and could you build that into the gamification aspect of it?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think that if you've got instances running where you've got gamers with gamers and shoppers with shoppers, doesn't necessarily stop that toxic behavior or that mentality. But what it does do is it basically segregates you into like groups or demographics, and that's extremely important. That's a good starting point. But ultimately, we've got to be very mindful of the fact that that social element needs to be something that you have the choice over what you're involved in. So, for example, using Oculus again, because people know the system very well, if you look at some of the applications that they have options for you to be able to only be seen or talked to by your friends, approached by people that you know, as opposed to just hearing everything that's going on. There's lots of different settings that you can actually use. So I think that's extremely important as well, because you might want to go in there and not have to hear what other people are saying, or you might not want that interaction. And we've got a number of people that have actually said we would like it to be that if we go in there with a couple of friends, that it looks like we've got the place to ourselves. Whereas the natural inclination you would think, the natural inclination you would think would be having thousands of people in there and having this buzzy entertainment feeling. And that's the important part of having that freedom to be able to choose that. So that's something that we're working on very hard in the background as well. And with VR, you have generally less people in an instance than you would in a normal game anyway. So we're working through the technicalities of how to make this environment sort of customizable.
All right, and maybe we'll see good karma rewards or penalties in there if Benny leers at me inappropriately.
I think, yeah, that's why you got to get your avatar systems right. If you use some of the rigging tools out there for the avatar systems, you're doing a lot more than peering at people inappropriately. These avatar movements have a mind of their own. But yeah, you're right. That customizable type of situation is important. And to be perfectly honest, if I was to go in there with a group of friends, I would want to be in there with just that group of friends, and I'd want to be able to run around and point out stuff and feel like I've got the place to myself. So I think everybody's going to have a different view on what they want to get out of it, and that's what's important is to make sure that we can provide that.
Okay. And what about scammers? We know in Australia, the big four banks here were under Royal Commission investigations for stealing millions of dollars from Australians. And then, of course, we have your low-level scammers running rife these days. Can the metaverse provide new and innovative ways for people to be scammed? And how is RFOX tackling this?
Yeah, I think that a lot of that stuff will sort of come to prevalence as it happens, because with any new technology or with any new offering, you've got new opportunities, right? So those opportunities have both come in the forms of good and bad. I think what's really important for us is that we've got to basically really position ourselves as we have as being the connector, the people that connect these retailers and creators to the end users. And what we've got to try and do is let that experience be customized and tailored and give people give people contribution to that environment and how it's formed. So it's not just us saying this is a ring-fence silo that you have to do everything our way, left, right, left, right. So we have to sort of work with the conditions that we have. And as you said, we're going to get a lot of benefits from that. And we're also going to get a lot of people trying to be opportunists. So we just have to be on our feet and make sure that we are able to react in real time and quickly to anything that does pop up or come across our radar. So we have to have that ability to have a kill switch in respect to certain types of behaviour or scammers or stuff like that. So we'd make no apology for that component of it being somewhat centralised in nature.
Okay, that was really interesting hearing your perspective on those aspects of the dangers of the metaverse. Can we finish up with the final updates on the rest of the ecosystem?
Yeah, so as you know, we've gone back out with the NFT white label platform. We had 160 applications come through in the first few hours, and we've had a ton more come in since. And what we've got to do is now sift through, work out who's going to be eligible for the first usage and grant system. We've started announcing white label partnerships with Cogs Mint Lab. The first one's been announced last week with Harambe, and we've got a couple more coming up that we will announce through the Discord channels. And we'll do live AMAs with those projects. A ton more being slated to come through as well. Yesterday we had the IAPF fundraiser for Cogs, which was for a very, very good charitable cause. And then we've got a ton of other products coming up with the RFOX TV release and also further developments in media as well. And now we're working heavily, as you would know, on finance and trying to make sure that we can extend those offerings out to our users to give greater value back. And that, coupled with the fact that we would also be looking at a new system for the VALT, which would provide users, not only shop owners, with a long-term reward system, is extremely exciting. So lots going on and lots coming together.
Sure is, it's full on. Well, we better leave it at that then, Benny. Have a fantastic week.
You too. Thanks for having me.